We're in Backtrack and we're at the shell prompt. And what I want to do quickly is just show you an example of Nmap at the command line. And I'm going to run a simple ping scan. And we're going to look later at that in a Wireshark capture after we run it. So all we're going to do is just run a really simple one for Nmap. We're going to show you Nmap a little bit more in depth later on in the next few segments or so. So let's go ahead and run Nmap. It's very easy, and it comes built in with Linux, obviously, especially Backtrack. And we're just going to do a simple -sp and the IP address space. And I'm going to say we want to scan 135 through 150. Just a round range there. That's where our hosts are. And so, real quick scan, nothing to it. All it did was send out a ping request, and in this case, actually, it sends out ARP. And all it does is ARP requests for each of these hosts. So it's not giving us back any information on what ports or services are open, just that those hosts are up and alive. That's all it does. Now let's switch over to Wireshark, and I'll show you, this is the same scan I ran earlier, the same type of scan. And what you're seeing here is basically ARP requests that go out to try to hit each and every one of those hosts in that range. And it sends out an ARP request, and in most cases it doesn't get a reply back. But in a couple of cases, here it does, and here it does. That's our CentOS box. And then it comes back with ARP requests out here and here. And we can drill down in here if you like and see the ARP request right here. And then you get the ARP replies right back here. So once it does that, it knows that those hosts are alive and on the network, and it actually uses ARP to do that. There are other types of scans that can use ICMP, but typically those are the kind where we're trying to get different responses from another host. ARP typically will be used just for a simple ping scan. So that's ARP. Now I want to go ahead and show you an example of a UDP scan. So let's go ahead and open that particular capture. And this was a UDP scan we did earlier. And let's go through here a little bit. I'll show you. There's an ARP where we actually scanned first. And with the UDP scan, it's doing several things at once. I actually did, I think, a -SU and a -SS for a SYN scan. So it will do those as well. And there's the SYN scan, as you can see. And you're going to get reset NACs back. Now, if we move on through here, we're going to see some UDP traffic. Let's scroll down here a little bit. And the TCP traffic there was part of the SYN scan there. Scroll down just a little bit here. We'll find it. And there we go right there. That's part of our UDP scan. So what we see here is like a UDP request right here. And as you can see, it's a malformed packet. It's probably a UDP packet that's been changed just somewhat. And then the reply back that we get is a destination unreachable port. And when we get that back, we know that the port is closed. So we know that the port's closed, so it could either be open or filtered. So that gives us a little bit of information about that. So that's a simple UDP scan in conjunction with a SYN scan. Now there's one more I want to show you, and that is a TCP scan. And this was a full open connect that I did, a -ST, very simple scan, and it's going to do some ARP stuff and maybe even some DNS queries. And this kind of looks like some of the same stuff we saw just a second ago. There's some SYNs out there, followed by some reset ACKs. And occasionally you might see a SYN ACK come back. It depends on how it responds. Like right here, here's the SYN. And then the SYN ACK back, or an example of a SYN ACK back, and then an ACK back here. And these are going to two separate hosts. But you can see how in Wireshark you can actually see the responses back that you get. So that's an example of a full TCP connect scan. And again, this would actually show up on an intrusion detection system fairly easily. And as a matter of fact, hosts can have their own host-based IDSs and firewalls that will detect a scan like this fairly easily as well. So that's an example of a full TCP scan there. Again, very noisy, but very reliable. You typically would want to do this type of scan if you're scanning on the inside of your own network, for example, and you don't care about tripping an IDS or something like that. So those are the 3 different scans we talked about: a ping scan, an ARP scan, and a full TCP scan.